So I'm really excited for the new Superman movie. Others, not so much. Judging by my last post, sort of regarding the new Superman movie, you guys probably know exactly what I'm talking about. So, of course, without further ado, let's begin. All right, so I think it's safe to say that this movie needs to succeed no matter what, and I know that that's pretty obvious, especially after the whole fall of the DCEU, and with this brand new universe that James Gunn is building up. Of course, it has to be good, like why wouldn't it? There's a lot of obviously there's been a lot of hype around it, a lot of toys being made. I don't need to get into all of that, but what I really want to get into is what we really need to worry about when this movie comes out. Now it's comes out in, I believe, in like early July or so. So we still got a little bit of a long way. Now here's the thing. I understand it could go either way. This movie can be like really good. It could truly be a summer blockbuster, or it could suck. I don't know. We just don't know that. We have to wait till the movie comes out. Unfortunately, there's a set of people that aren't really willing to kind of give it a chance. And I did posted it, on my community tab. And I'm just gonna be honest, I was so hesitated on making this video, mostly because, well, there's already, people kind of talking about it, so I'm like way behind. But I'm just gonna talk about it anyway. Listen, if I have to make multiple videos talking about this, I will, because to me, this is pretty serious what we're gonna talk about today. And I don't know. At the same time, I was a little bit afraid to kind of make this video because the fan base that we're gonna be talking about, it's a little unhinged, which I feel bad saying that because it's not everybody. That's something that we need to learn and understand. But there's always gonna be those few bad apples that kind of make it a little worse for everyone. So of course I'm particularly talking about the Snyder fan base or the Snyder Bros or whatever they're called. I honestly have no idea what they call themselves. I mean, I'm not in that fan base, so I can't really say for sure. Obviously, they don't like this new Superman. They really don't. They kind of they miss Henry Cavill's Superman. Obviously, these are people that really enjoyed Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman. And then okay, fine, I get it. But the thing is, though, this is not about whether this is your favorite version of Superman or not. It's not like that. No, these people, like, they take it personal. And don't get me wrong, it's not just new Superman. It's of course just Zack Snyder as a whole. The director, where he has a very particular way of directing his films. He has a bit of style. He has some of his little artistic motives here and there. People like the way that he makes his films. So obviously, these are the people that enjoyed, his DC movies. For those of you, I mean, in case you have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about, I'm of course referring to, Zack Snyder. He directed Man of Steel. This was like 2013, I believe. And obviously it was a bit of a different interpretation of Superman. It's pretty much what we all know, but of course it was like a crazy, like, batshit insane movie, mass destruction everywhere, people dying a lot, and Superman not really being super, but don't get me wrong, he was still pretty good. And then of course after that we got Batman versus Superman, and then there was Justice League, and then of course we got the Schneider cut. You kind of get where I think you guys understand where I'm leaning into. So I don't want to talk about that too much, otherwise this video is gonna kind of turn into something else. And look, I'm just gonna say it. If you like these films, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And honestly, that's not the problem that I'm trying to explain. What I am trying to explain is that what I'm afraid is, that these people are gonna pull some stupid shit. I'm just gonna say that right now because they're already doing it. I mean, there was a post of going around saying, oh, like none of the toys are selling and stuff, even though some of those toys are street dated. You want that new Ultraman figure from the new Superman movie? Well, we gotta wait till June 1st to get it because it's street dated. You can't buy it now if you see it on the shelves. Also, I'm not talking about that Ultraman, but you get the idea. And and obviously I'm not even gonna bother talking about that guy who did like that parody video where he was like, I want it Schneider's way. Yeah, no, I'm not even gonna talk about that guy because he's like in a whole heap of trouble for things that I won't really speak on here. Well, it's also because I don't want to give him any attention. I'd rather not say his name and whatever. Because like I said, these people tend to go to extreme levels, which is ironic because around the time when the DCEU was still a thing, I remember too, there were people that were like hating on Zack Snyder. People really, really did not like, his way of like filming or like how he did his films and stuff. And obviously, like I mentioned, he has a very particular way of portraying things. I mean, that's why the Snyder Cut of Justice League exists. I mean, it's like almost a completely different film compared to the actual Justice League movie, which obviously, for artistic reasons, the movie ended up being way different than how he wanted it, which, okay, fine, I get that, But what I don't understand is, obviously it all leads to like, harassment, a lot of crazy stuff, You probably don't want to hear me talk about it. You probably rather hear someone else more professional explain it, I'm just going to say it right now. That when the new Superman movie comes out, I hope I'm wrong. I really do. Those Rotten Tomato scores are gonna be like splat. That they're gonna have like the most lowest reviews possible. You're gonna get a fair share of people saying that it's hot garbage or something like that, and that Zack Snyder probably did it better. That those are gonna be people review bombing the film. I feel like that's exactly what's gonna happen. And don't get me wrong, Rotten Tomatoes, they do not determine whether a movie is good or not. I am so sick and tired of people being like, oh, it has a high Rotten Tomato score. Oh, it has a low Rotten Tomato score. That doesn't determine whether a movie is good or bad. That's like a subset of people. Not to mention that Rotten Tomatoes, on occasion, has been proven to lie on a couple of their movies. I could talk about that maybe, a different time, but I'm just saying that could definitely 100% happen with this film because of how different it is. It's pretty obvious that judging by the trailers and all that, this is going to be the type of movie where superheroes are already a thing. So we'll delve into his backstory, but maybe not too much. Maybe there's little tidbits here and there. You get the point. That's just how it is. But the Schneider fan base, I mean, again, I'm positive that I might make another video talking about it because this has to be something that people need to know what to watch out for, and of course, give things a chance. You just never know. And I'm gonna say this, if anyone from the Snyder fan base is watching this video, which I doubt it because I know my videos don't really get that much reach, but if you're watching this, I'm just gonna say it, I understand, I really do. It's never fun having a franchise that you enjoy just kind of go down the drain just because something else didn't work out, Like, I really loved the Ash vs. Evil Dead TV series. I thought it was great, it was fun. But because the show got canceled after season 3 was finished filming, the show ended on a massive cliffhanger, and I've been extremely upset ever since. Now, I get it. They have made a continuation, with Evil Dead Rise and stuff like that, but it doesn't hit the same. It's not. I don't feel it. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, And of course, there's a whole ton of other examples out there. Don't get me wrong, but the point that I'm trying to make is that I get it. The DCEU obviously didn't do so well because a couple of their movies they just weren't good. Now I get that they weren't directed by Zack Snyder exactly. Obviously, the point that I'm trying to make is that people liked his interpretation. They would have loved to see his interpretation even more further, even though I'm pretty sure only 3 films were really planned, but I could be wrong on that. That's kind of what I'm trying to say here. It's like, I understand, but at the same time, the stuff that you people do, honestly, like that deserves a separate video in and of on its own. This video really is just more of a warning of what we have to watch out for and be careful with. So that's all I'm really gonna say, for now, and hopefully, We'll get a little bit more as to what we would expect. You know, honestly, I would love to talk about the movie more. You know, I really do think that this movie's going to be really good, and I would like to give my initial thoughts and stuff. You know, especially since now like the final trailers are out, even the toys too. We gotta talk about the toys. So until then, yeah, looking forward to that. So until then, thank you guys for watching. As always, leave a like and subscribe. That's about it. See ya.